Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Our invocation today, Mike's today. Our invocation today is by Jimmy Morrow.
They told me I was getting an award. So this is a prayer for journalists. This is from St. Francis of Sales, who was appointed back in 1602. He was a patron saint of education. He was also for the deaf and also for journalists. He was also known as the gentleman saint. Almighty God, strengthen and direct, we pray, the will of those who work it is to write what many read, and to speak with many listen. May we be bold to confront evil and injustice, understanding and compassion with human weakness, rejecting the light, the half-truth which deceives, and the slanted word which corrupts. May the power which is ours for good or ill always be used with honesty and courage, with respect and integrity, so that when all here has been written, said, and done, we may unashamed meet thee face to face.
Thank you, Jimmy. Our song leader today is Mike Ballard.
Thank you. And if anybody knew anything, my wife would tell you I cannot carry the notes. So I'm going to, right when we start, I'm going to turn the microphone down. But this is a classic, God Bless America. Please join me. Okay, we don't have the sounds on this. Okay. Hit play.
When it rains.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Best laid plans, Mike. Welcome to my world. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation under God,
Thank you. Please be seated. Our Sergeant at Arms today is Tom Thomas.
Yep.
Tom, Mike asked to be fined today before the sign got screwed up.
It has to be going before the sun.
Yep.
So just double the fine.
Okay. But he wants the money.
We'll make sure it's worth your time and money.
Okay, I'm getting fined today for two awesome things that have occurred, well, three actually. I brought many of my kids over the last couple of years to the club. You've met, I think many of you have met them. But my son graduated with a master's in tax and is going to work in New York City for KPMG. 2 weeks later, we got married to a lovely gal in Arizona. And then my daughter, who has decided to play rugby, women's rugby, and they won a national championship by beating Stanford and Cal. So we're bringing that anniversary. I'm pretty excited about it.
Congratulations, and thank you for your contribution. Do we have international visitors today? No international. We have visiting Rotarians. I know Tom Navanti's in the back of the room, back there, other way.
Well, it's always fun to come here. My club is Las Vegas West, and if you know, since our inception, we've been a gambling club. So, we've all our fundraisers have all kind of geared around some sort of chance. And we've adopted 3 schools, which is pretty aggressive for a club with as few members as we have. The way we do it is we raise funds by this scratch and win event that we've had for several years. What to do, I sell these tickets, they're $5 a piece. You buy $100 worth, you go into the drawing for Golden Knights tickets next year. We one game, which will be a lot more expensive than they are this year. But and if you buy 5 of them, or you scratch off, you scratch 6 squares. Don't scratch more than 6. When you aren't playing poker, you're looking for a money bag envelope that's under there. Guy this morning was trying to win a poker hand, I think. But don't scratch more than 6 because then the card will do it. And if you win, take a picture of it, send it to me, and we'll get you your prizes. I put the flyers on the table because they explain it better than I can. There's 3 levels. If you get 6 squares, you get $10,000 cash. So I'm lucky enough to sell a lot of these, a lot of winners. I haven't sold 10,000. So anyway, thank you. I'll be here for a while.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Tom is also our district administrator, and he's the one that, if you need something done in the district, Tom's the one to go to. Do we have other visiting Rotarians? It looks like we have here.
Today,
Let's see any more hands. We have guests of Rotarians.
yes, the Rotary.
Guests of Rotarians? Do we have
Steve
guests?
Casey.
Do we have guests of the club today?
Any guests of the club? I think it's summertime.
I think so. Room's kind of empty today. Okay, then I'm going to take a minute and introduce the head table. We have our John Ralston, our speaker, who will be more fully introduced in a moment. We have Larry Goldstein. We have Megan Riley and Steve Dixon joining us today. So, thank you.
Katie, we have a guest of the club.
We have a guest of the club, Melanie.
Sorry, Rosalie was taking my attention away, and I missed the announcement again. But we do have Yetta Bailey, who's here for our second.
Thank you, welcome. Antoinette, you're gonna make the announcement for the 25 Club on your way out the door.
Okay, so thank you for everybody that came and joined us for our last 25 Club event. Thank you to Suzette Wheeler, who hosted us. Karen Weisenman spoke about international work and opportunities. Steve Casey gave us a rundown of the Las Vegas Rotary Foundation and its functions. We also celebrated 9 graduates from the club. We had Will Abbott, Nancy Anderson, Jared Kavanaugh, David Jones, Lisa Motley, David Mullen, John Kelly, Sarah Corbin, all graduated. Thank you for coming out. Our next event will be the Alpine Picnic on July 22nd in Charleston. And there is a sign up in Greenwood, and I hope to see you all there.
Thanks, Antoinette. Brooke Alexander.
We're gonna have a build, this 10th, that's 2 days from now, in Tecate, Mexico. The project is for a family of, there's 3 kids in the family. Captain Mahan's actually given me a $2 bill for each one of them. The bill will start at 5:30 in the morning at the rendezvous at 8th Street in Chula Vista. And during the day, throughout the day, you'll have a chance to learn a little bit more about the family in person. They'll actually prepare lunch for the crew that is building their house, as well as they participate in the build of the house. So the nice part is that there's a little girl, and most likely the key ceremony at the end of the build will be handing the key off to her. And that's something we're really looking forward to. And again, that's Saturday the 10th. Hope to see you guys there.
Do you have a good group going?
Don't know the number.
No. Thank you. David Squire. David. Jerry. Jerry Simmons, I'm sorry.
All right, everybody clean up. It's Saturday, 8 o'clock. The weather certainly looks beautiful. We have a big turnout according to the green book here. So look forward to seeing everybody Saturday. And as usual, brunch over at my house after everybody's office cleaning up. Thank you. See you then.
Thanks, Jerry. John Williams, anyone there? There he is.
I'm talking on behalf of John Williams today. The Dark Monday is fast approaching. It is on June 19th with 90 minutes of entertainment with the proceeds going to the Wheelchair Foundation. There's still tickets available. They are $20 per person. There's a raffle as well in both the concert and the raffle items are streaming live. So if you cannot make it to an event, then you can watch it online, or you can bid on the raffle items. So come on out and support John Williams and the Wheelchair Foundation.
Thanks, Karen. Jim Tucker.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about roster picture.
I'm here, and I do have my camera. So if any of you need pictures for the roster, please see me afterwards over here by the flags, and I'll take them and digitize them the next roster.
Thanks, Jim. And Mike Ballard was another announcement.
Hey, it's time to throw that woman out. We're having our debunking at the end of the month. And we're excited for your service. We appreciate your service. And we're excited for our next president, Tony Kern, to come in. But we're having a party at my house in Green Valley by the Green Valley Ranch on the 29th, 6 o'clock. It'll be warm, but
We'll cool you off. We're gonna pool. We're gonna throw Katie in the pool. No, she won't let us do that. So please put it on your calendar to be there on the 29th.
I'm gonna wear my mermaid costume. Melanie and Nikki, we have a presentation, I have an introduction today.
John and Susan. All right, fellow Rotarians. On behalf of the membership committee, it is my privilege to introduce John Pizer, who is sponsored by Susan Ziobro, and Rita Burton, who is sponsored by Nikki Bates. Susan, will you introduce John, and then John will say a few words, and after that, Nikki will introduce Rita, and Rita will say a few words.
Hello, fellow Rotarians and guests. I have the privilege of telling you about John Pizer. John is no stranger to service, and that's how I met him. We were both volunteering at an event. In the course of getting to know John, I found he is retired for the second time. I don't think that idleness sits well with him. He originally retired in 2003, but that wasn't the end of working for John. John's first career spanned over 30 years in the hospitality industry, primarily in hotels. And the second was in education, teaching hospitality at Microsoft Office with the Clark County School District. He also held a position as part-time instructor at UNLV at the Hera College of Hospitality and at CSN in their hospitality department. John has served over 5 years on the board of directors for the UNLV Alumni Association and currently stays involved with the Hera College of Hotel Illinois. Going back to John's origins, he was born in San Francisco and he graduated from UCLA. He first came to Las Vegas in 1977 to obtain a second bachelor's degree in hotel administration at UNLV. 29 years later, and with a bevy of hospitality industry experience in various management positions from California to Texas, he returned to earn a master's degree in hospitality at UNLV. Working in a career field that included frequent job transfers, the Las Vegas Rotary Club is John's 4th Rotary Club, having been a member of 3 other clubs in Texas. I can tell he enjoys staying active and living life with purpose because he is currently a docent at the Springs Preserve, primarily in Boomtown. And as many of our longstanding members will recall, Boomtown is where one of the original railroad cottages was moved and restored thanks to the Las Vegas Rotary Club. And that cottage is cottage number 3. John can tell you all about it. John also leads the Bruins of Southern Nevada, a group of UCLA alumni. But you know what they say, once a rebel, always a rebel. And now, fellow Rotarians, it's time for you to hear from John.
First, I have to thank my cousin Bob, because I can actually be somewhere where they pronounce my name right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Being the 4th Rotary, I will tell you, I'm so impressed with you compared to the other 3, with what you do in the community. I've been in huge ones in San Antonio, the smaller ones in Farmers Branch. You guys are just amazing, and I really look forward to contributing. If you ever want to hear about stupid guests, talk to me. I have tons of stories. Or if you're traveling and know what should I do, I can help you with that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce, and she really does have a name. I keep saying my sister, because my sister, but her name is Rita Burton.
And I have to tell you that Rita is the proverbial middle child. She has no idea what I'm going to say right now. I was the baby girl, and there was an older sister. I got all the attention, the older was got all the attention. Rita was the gracious, she says invisible, but she wasn't. She was somebody that I looked up to and continue to look up to. She's an amazing human being. If you knew anything about our family, you know that who we are is self-made. Every bit of us, all 3 sisters and a younger brother. And I could not be more proud of my older sister for everything that she has accomplished in this world. Part of those accomplishments is she is a lifelong Las Vegan, as we are, and a graduate of UNLV, once a level, always a level. She started her career at the Nevada Gaming Control Board. And you were talking about gambling back there, talking about me, and I was thinking, uh-oh, did we go through a game control board on that? Where she gained valuable experience in the audit division. You would think that's really boring, but Rita is not boring. Rita then transitioned to public accounting and became a CPA. After establishing herself in public accounting, Rita found her true calling at Palm Mortuary, that family-owned business that all of us grew up with here in town, where she embarked on a remarkable 20-year journey. Following the successful sale of Palm Mortuary, the previous owners invited Rita to stay on as their dedicated family CFO. They trusted no one else with their money. Alongside her professional achievements, Rita also enjoys a fulfilling personal life. Happily married to her husband, Andy. Oh, there's so much I can say about Andy. For 30 years. And the proud mother of 2 children, my niece and nephew. Her son, Quinn, is also a CPA. And if you knew Quinn, you'd go, oh God, why are you a CPA? Yeah, he's so funny and he's so full of life. For some reason, we think CPAs are boring, but neither Rita nor Quinn are boring. And her daughter, Julia, my niece, is a labor and delivery nurse in Portland, Oregon. Rita and Andy are also very excitedly expecting their first grandchild and my first grandnephew in August. Please help me welcome my sister, and I'm so proud to call my sister, Rita Whitney.
Well, that was certainly a beautiful introduction. CPAs are not boring. We do have personalities, and my son definitely is full of personality. I just like to say that I'm super excited to be becoming a member of this group. Everyone has been so welcoming and nice to me, and I'm just really looking forward to meeting all of you and working with all of you. Thank you very much.
John and Rita, you have been invited to the membership of the Las Vegas Rotary Club because your fellow members believe you to be a worthy representative of your calling and also to possess qualities that will permit you to exemplify the true spirit of Rotary in public, business, social, and private life. John and Rita, you have actual family members in our club, but you will now be part of the family of Rotary. I wish to impress upon you that you have been admitted to the Las Vegas Rotary Club, but also to a worldwide fraternity. By virtue of your membership in this club, you will be welcomed into the family and fellowship of any Rotary Club in the world. In addition to becoming part of our family, we are making you a trustee of the Rotary ideals and following the 4-way test. The 4-way test guides the things that we think, say, or do. The 4-way test, it should be the truth, fair to all concerned, build goodwill and better friendships, and be beneficial to all concerned. John and Rita, Rotary is not just another club, it is a way of life. As members of the club, we look forward to the enrichment of our lives as well as that of your own. Now, Rotarians, will you stand and welcome with me? You're being given a pin by your Rotary sponsor, by which your fellow Rotarians and the community will recognize you as Rotarian, and we will ask that you wear it proudly. With that, John and Rita, it is my pleasure and honor to congratulate you on being inducted to the newest member of the Las Vegas Rotary Club and the greatest Rotary Club in the universe.
Thank you and welcome to our members.
I don't have the mic, so. Just one mic. Rob. Yeah. Goes the plug.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Our soon-to-be president, Tony Kern, just returned from the International Convention in Melbourne, and she has a presentation to make. For Sergeant at Arms Flight. You just didn't have a microphone, Tony, come on.
It was quite an experience going to the convention, which a number of past presidents and other members know about, with so many people from so many nations, and they love trading banners and flags. So it's my pleasure and honor to give to Katie, Rotary Club of Camberwell in Victoria, Australia. From the Rotary Club, please excuse the bad pronunciation, Neo Bengaluru in India, sorry. Sorry, Mark, sorry, everybody. I apologize. Rotary Club of Bengal, again, but now it's Lalbagh, India. And easy one, Trinity, Florida, USA. So there you go, Katie.
Thank you, but nothing from Melbourne.
Oh, I do. That's a wait.
Thank you. We're gonna talk about the convention was absolutely amazing. The opening and closing ceremonies were more than just an invitation to talk about what was done and what the future holds between outgoing President Jennifer Jones and incoming Gordon McAnally. It was actually a concert. We had the four tenors, they sang a lot, they gave a full performance. Closing were the professionals from, well, now I'm gonna forget, my brain is not back yet on our time. The Greatest Show, and it was fascinating. Jennifer Jones is the most eloquent, gracious, well-spoken, very active woman that I have ever encountered, and what a great first female president of Rotary International. After Gordon McAnally, there will be the second female Rotary International president. We were able to go to the Rod Laver Stadium, the cricket arena. We were guests of 3 Rotary clubs that have a very similar vibe to here, with all the legal, old-fashioned memories of the tennis club of Kowloon. And it was an overall wonderful experience, and one that if you can make in 2 years to Calgary, Canada, that would be a place to go. It's an experience that you'll never forget.
Thanks, Tony, and welcome back. I'd like to take a minute and thank everybody who helped put the meeting together today. Kathy Mann and Bob Warner set up the meeting. Liz Rockwell and Debbie Howard were our greeters. Bob Kaiser for selling tickets today. Our scribe today is Don Holland. Photographer, past President Jim Tucker. Our AV team, Austin Wyrick, who had to leave, and Herb Holmes, who stepped in. And today helping us clean up after the meeting, Michael Williams and Andrew Moran. Thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and do the drawing for the pot today. At the end of last week, the pot was $2,366. So the ticket number to draw to the Joker is 631-7722. 7722. Okay. Didn't you just win this? Okay. Okay.
Hey, what you got? Show it. Hey.
And the ticket for $50 in lottery bucks today is 6317617. Hey.
Yeah, stop. Hey, man. Hey. What you got?
We have a great speaker today, and we'll have a few extra minutes for him. John Ralston is with us. I'd like to have Larry Goldstein come up and introduce us.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. This is really a pleasure for me. I've kind of been following John's work for some time, and I had the privilege of running into a event, met Megan, just happened to have said, does John come and speak to organizations? And it didn't take long to have him scheduled, so it's a pleasure to have him. John Ralston is a renowned journalist, author, political commentator, based right here in Nevada. He has been widely recognized for his coverage of politics and public affairs in our state. In 2017, John launched the Nevada Independent, a nonprofit online news site devoted to Nevada business and government. He has also served as a political columnist for the Las Vegas Review-Journal and is host of several television and radio programs, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, including Face to Face with John Ralston and Ralston Reports. In addition to his work in journalism, John is also the author of The Anointed One, a book about former Nevada Senator Harry Reid. He has received numerous awards for his journalism, including the James Baldwin Medal, the Dill Medal. Somebody's got to help me on that one. For courage in journalism, and he's been named one of the top 50 politicos in the nation by Politico. Please join me in welcoming John Ralston.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be back before this group. I would feel old, except there's so many of you who are old with me. I've been coming here for so long, so it makes me feel a lot better. I do want to make just one slight correction to the bio that Larry just read. The Anointed One has nothing to do with Harry Reid. The Anointed One was a book I wrote more than 20 years ago about the ascension of Kenny Gwynn. I have, however, just completed a biography of Harry Reid that I've been working on for 2 years and just submitted the manuscript to Simon & Schuster about 10 days ago. So now it's waiting for the editors to get a hold of it and say, you sent us how many words about Harry Reid? So that book will be published at some point, I hope. It took a lot of work, especially because I was not able to take a book lead because I'm running this little operation called the Nevada Independent, of which I am the CEO now. Some of you may or may not know that. Now is a time where, without the benefit of lie detectors, I want you all to tell me, raise your hand if you know about the Nevada Independent. Okay, the rest of you, the exit is right there. The Nevada Independent, of all the things I've done in my career in Las Vegas, all the jobs that I've been fired from, is my favorite labor of love. We started it about 6.5 years ago. It is, as Larry said, a nonprofit website, and I'm so proud of the staff. We started with 6 people. We just hired our 26th employee. Megan is one, and Megan is wonderful. She's part of our revenue team. And so if you don't know her, she will make herself known to you because that's her job. We are now the go-to place in Nevada for coverage of politics and government. If any of you have the misfortune of following the Nevada legislature, you know this because, by the way, the legislature is still going on, and I can tell you a little bit about this during their second special session, even as I stand here. But I'm so proud of these young reporters. I'm so happy to be at a point in my career where I can mentor some of these really talented young folks, and they're just doing a great job covering the Nevada government campaigns, issues, and we're only going to get bigger. But we can only get bigger with the help of donations. We survive on donations. We disclose every single donation that we've received, from $5 all the way up to much larger donations, individual and corporate. And I hope those of you not familiar with the Independent will go check out the website and see what you think of it. And if you like it, my favorite button on the website is the one that says, please support our work. And if you are a reader of the Nevada Independent and you don't support our work, shame on you. You can go click that button as well. So I am here for the next 20-25 minutes until Katie gives me the hook to talk about whatever you want to talk about. So fire away. Yes, sir.
What was your assessment of the legislative session this go-round as far as cooperation and the interworkings?
I'll repeat the question in case people can't hear it in the back. What was my assessment of the legislative session and as far as cooperation goes? And I have to say, first of all, it's not over yet. As I mentioned, they're now in the, for those of you who don't know, they're in the second special session now, considering just one bill, and that's the bill that would provide $380 million at least to the Oakland A's as a way of getting them to come here and build a stadium on the land where the Tropicana is now. As far as cooperation goes, you have to step back and look and see that the legislature is dominated by Democrats. They have majorities in both houses. They have a supermajority in the Assembly and almost a supermajority, less one vote in the Senate. And then you had a Republican governor elected. So there was bound to be a certain lack of cooperation. You also have a governor who was elected who really had no experience in state politics. He was the sheriff of Clark County, but I don't think he had any idea what he was in for when he got up to Carson City. And right now he's probably still shaking his head saying, they can do what? What? He's vetoed a ton of bills, if that's a sign of cooperation. He may go down in history as the governor with the most vetoed bills, but that's what a lot of people on his side of the political spectrum wanted him to do, to stop the Democrats from doing what Democrats do. On the other hand, the Democrats have stood firm on some things, and the governor has been forced to essentially to scale back his ambitions. He said he was going to pass an election reform package, as he called it. That was dead on arrival. He said he was going to pass a school choice bill. That went nowhere. He has managed to get some things on his agenda passed, including something that sprung from his background, which was a school safety bill. And hopefully will make schools safer, which, as many of you know, it is more important now than ever before in this state and in this country. But I like to say that all legislative sessions end ugly. This is somewhere in the middle. I think, again, it's not over. Whether or not the A's bill passes, and I'd say it's 50-50 as I stand here. I think you're going to have both sides do a fair bit of crowing about what they were able to get passed or what they were able to either veto or kill in the legislative branch. So that's the general answer to this question.
Thank you. Questions?
I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not registered that way. I just vote for whoever I think. Why can't we fix the immigration border system? Why can't we fix that?
Oh, well, a simple question. Thank you. Why can't we fix that? The answer to your question, unfortunately, is the same answer that I give to why can't we do this or do that. This country has become hopelessly polarized on many, many issues, and this is certainly one of them, if not one of the top 2 or 3 most paramount. I think, and some might call me a cynic, which has never happened in my career at all, for saying this, but some think the Democrats have wanted to keep the immigration issue alive without a solution for cycle after cycle to mobilize Hispanic voters to vote for them. The same can be said of the Republicans in a different way. There is no solution to the border crisis, whether it's Catherine Cortez Masto or Ron DeSantis going and doing photo ops at the border and saying, we're going to fix this. And then, putting that out on their video feeds or on their Twitter feeds. The problem is they don't talk to each other anymore. They used to, they really did. Some of you are old enough to remember those days, both in Carson City and in Washington. Now they talk at each other. Now it's about, how do I avoid a primary challenge? So I pander to the lowest common denominator on the left or on the right. But I'll say to you, in this club, what I say to a lot of groups, it's up to you. If the people don't penalize this bad behavior, it's going to continue. No, it's not easy. Grassroots activism takes time and money. Building coalitions takes time and money. But if they think they can get away with what they're doing, too many of them will. It doesn't mean there aren't good people in public office. There's a ton of good people in public office. But there's no penalty for bad behavior in politics for a variety of different reasons these days. So I'm sorry, maybe you invited me to lunch to solve the immigration problem in America. I cannot help it.
On the same subject, I had a couple friend of mine from France that came in here with a baby, and they opened a business, and they became very successful and very wealthy. And it took them 12 years to get their green card. And I think that is wow. And there has to be some kind of solution for all this stuff that's going on.
Well, I mean, one thing that they won't do is go after the low-hanging fruit like that, right? Like, it should never take that long. And I don't care what political stripe you are. Let's talk about a baby. Even if parents come here illegally and then have a baby here in this country, who does not think that they should be treated differently than others who have stuck across the border? I think most people agree with that. But that's not what they're fighting about. They're fighting over political turf. And on both sides. It's worse with the Democrats, in my opinion, than with Republicans. I think they really have tried to keep the issue alive to get votes. But of course, that makes no sense. So if anybody else wants to ask me to solve the immigration crisis, you can, but you're going to get the same answer.
My second question is about the Tropicana Hotel.
Okay.
That is going to become a boat park?
Maybe. You should read the Nevada Independent. And if you don't think I can turn every question back onto a hype for the Independent, you're wrong. That's my job, right, Megan? So yeah, the A's plan is to essentially knock down the Tropicana and put a stadium there, and maybe build another version of the Tropicana on the site. They want to use about a quarter of the site for the stadium, but they're asking for $380 million public subsidy. You may remember that the Raiders, when they came, asked for a public subsidy. Well, a very different kind of public subsidy that was room taxes. This is a combination of different taxes. If it passes in the legislature in the next 48 hours or so, it may happen. And we may then be the owners of perhaps the worst franchise in the history of baseball. They're going to lose 120 games this year, maybe more.
John, two questions. The first one is a follow-up to that, because I remember an announcement went out that they had a definitive deal for a different site. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, their unbreakable deal was broken and they went to the Trop. Do you have any color to that? And then number two, could you talk about the upcoming mayoral race? It seems like it will be interesting.
There are many cities here, Mike. I assume you're talking about Las Vegas. Let me answer the first question first. This is one of the biggest, and this shows how poorly this whole thing has been handled by the A's organization so far. And by the way, let me just say up front, I would love to get Major League Baseball here, even if the A's are marginally Major League Baseball at this point in their history. Because as some of you may know or agree with me on, there's nothing like going out to a ballpark and watching a game, especially with your kids or friends or whatever. So I hope they come. But the way this has been handled, as Mike alluded to, they first said they had, and the words that they used were binding agreement. And they did this in a very orchestrated way on some land owned by Stations Casinos, the old Wild West site. And they said, this is a done deal, we've got this, everything's fine. And then behind the scenes, guess who didn't like the fact that they chose that site? The Culinary Union, which has not much affection for Station Casinos, as you may know. And so they started raising some issues about that. And then some other folks got involved. There was a site near the Rio, and then there was the Tropicana site, and then there was one other site that also said, hey, wait a second, we want this. And so the A's thought they could get a better deal, and it was a better place to have it. And so then they went to the Tropicana site and said, we have a binding agreement here. So, you know, words have lost all meaning, right? It wasn't binding. So finally, they settled on the Tropicana site, and that's where they're going to build if they come here. By the way, there are other cities, believe it or not, that want the A's. Nashville wants them. Salt Lake City may want them. And so depending on what happens in the next 48 hours, we may or may not have the Las Vegas A's. As far as the mayor's race goes, I don't know why, Mike, but viscerally, I just want to groan. I mean, like, first of all, mayor, as many of you in this room know, is a much less important position than many other local elected government positions, particularly the 7 people who sit on the Clark County Commission. But rhetorically, it is a big deal. And so you're going to have a lot of people running for that because it's an open seat, because Carolyn Goodman is term limited. And you have Shelley Berkeley, who many of you know, and is going to raise a lot of money. You have Cedric Freer, who's on the council, who started running like 4 years ago or something. You have Victoria Seaman, who's the best known as the former best friend of Michelle Fiore, until they got in a fist fight in the hallway at City Hall. Yeah, we have politics here in Las Vegas. And you're gonna have other people get in. And I don't understand why someone named Goodman hasn't gotten in. I thought it was in statute now that you have to be named Goodman to become mayor of Las Vegas. So it's way too early to tell what's gonna happen. There's going to be on the ballot though for the first time in an even numbered year. So there's not going to be as much focus on it, but there's going to be a much larger turnout next year than there usually is. Municipal elections, as some of you know, generally have like 12 or 22% turnout. They're going to be huge turnout next year because it's a presidential year. So we'll see what happens. I mean, conventional wisdom would tell you that Shelley Berkeley has the experience, she has the fundraising network, she's the favorite. But I have come to believe after many years, too many years, covering politics, that there is no such thing as conventional wisdom.
Up until recently, Nevada was 51st in the country, making us worse than Puerto Rico in mental health, which is affecting our homelessness and all kinds of different things. Why is this not a bigger issue?
It should be a bigger issue. There's already been some conflict, talk about lack of cooperation in the legislature about a bill or two that the governor's vetoed that would have dealt with mental health, and he believes in an ineffective way. The reason that mental health is so often neglected is because not many people are as earnest as you might be and care about it, even though they should. They don't know about the lack of beds or the lack of services. You don't know about that until you're affected by it. Your family's affected by it. Your friends are affected by it. It's not like education or immigration or taxation or other things that affect a lot of people and are really easy hot buttons. There have been very few legislators that have been willing to take on the topic of mental health because there's really nothing in it for them, right? But it is very important. It's much more important now than it's ever been. And it's not just about homelessness, although it's a huge deal with homelessness. But I mean, there are issues now of teen mental health that many of us, you know, when we went to school, we didn't have to think about these kinds of issues. And so, again, it's the same kind of thing. Unless this is the most depressing thing to me about covering politics, even though I loved it for so many years, is that the emotion that politicians understand the best is fear. And And that is fear of not being able to be a politician anymore. And if you don't care about mental health, there's no penalty for that. If you don't care about education, you don't care about taxes, there's a real penalty potentially for that. And so, listen, there have been some incredible, I've been in this town now for almost 40 years, believe it or not, and there have been some incredible community leaders, and some of them are in this room. But until there is, and it's difficult to get community support for things in Las Vegas at times. But until there is a bottom up on this, it's not going to come top down. We're not going to expect them to take it up. Until there's a bottom up movement on something like mental health, I just see only incremental changes.
Hi, John. What does the school safety legislation consist of, and has it passed yet?
I don't know all the details. There are two bills. One of them was the governor's, and the other was one from the Democratic legislature. The big debate was over this so-called restorative justice implementation, which some of you may or may not know about. I'll just give you the broad strokes. There was a lessening of penalties for bad behavior by students. In other words, it wasn't one strike you're out or two strikes you're out, even three. It was like 14 strikes and you get thrown out of school. The governor said that's not working. We need to impose stricter penalties. You know, there's some opposition to that, saying this is not something you can paint with a broad brush. All kids are different. All problems are different. What we really need is more counselors in the school. Some said we need armed guards in school. You know, these kinds of things. But the most important change has been to the restorative justice aspect, which a lot of Democrats fought, but the governor says, no, this policy is not working. We're going to put different metrics on this. To be honest with you, and I apologize, I don't know if he's actually signed it yet or not. He has hundreds of bills in front of him, but he will sign the bill. It's his bill. It's one of the few things he's going to be able to say got passed.
Talk about the charter school issue and how that went through the legislature, because I know that was one of the governor's goals, was to get something related to charter schools, more choice.
By the way, is there a limit on Mike Ballard questions? Is it in the bylaws? You're kind of conflating a couple of things, Mike. School choice was something that's really important, at least presumably so, to the governor and to a lot of families and parents too. The charter school thing had that actually failed. Had to do with treating charter school teachers. Charter schools are public schools, for those of you who don't know. We're treating charter school teachers in the same way that regular public school teachers were treated. The governor supported that. The Democrats, for a variety of reasons, did not back down. School choice was a much more contentious issue. And the issue of school choice, just a brief history, you remember the legislature passed something called education savings accounts a while back, which was essentially universal school choice. And there were a lot of constitutional questions about it. There was a lawsuit filed, and a former Solicitor General of the United States was brought in to fight that lawsuit, and he won the suit, but he lost. In other words, they found that education savings accounts were legal, but constitutional, but that the funding mechanism they used was unconstitutional. So that was the last time Republicans had control of the legislature. They have not been funded since, and so they've tried to chip away at this by the use of something called opportunity scholarships, where kids who are part of families that I believe was 300% of the poverty level or below were entitled to grants of about $5,000 a year. For those of you who have your kids in private school, that doesn't go that far in paying for private schools, right? The governor wanted to increase that number this time. The Democrats said that's dead on arrival. They're just opposed to the public money for private schools. And we could debate that issue endlessly. And believe me, as a parent, I've come to see that issue very, very differently over the years, and it's not that simple. But I didn't think it was DOA. I thought that was just posturing by the Democrats at the beginning of the session. I thought ultimately that is the bargaining chip that they are going to use to get some of the things they want. I was wrong. Don't quote me on that. But they now, they've held the line on that. The governor didn't get any expansion of opportunity scholarships. There is some blowback already from some people on the right because of that. School choice advocates are very, very upset that they got essentially nothing because the Democrats controlled the legislature, and some are upset with the governor for giving up on it, so to speak. So it went nowhere. Nothing happened on that this session. And my guess is, by the way, that it's going to be that way for some time because the Democrats are going to be in control of the legislature and dominantly for some time to come, just because of, guess what? Redistricting, right? And that's the hidden story of a lot of this and the polarization of this country, right? Safe districts, all they have to do is fear of primary, so they're going to pander to the lowest common denominator in their own parties. I'm being really optimistic today.
Thank you, John, for being here and clarifying a lot of political aspects for us. My question has to do with bills. It might be naive on my part, but are there so many things wrong with our laws that we always have to have bills introduced? I mean, it's almost like politicians want a feather in their cap by having a bill passed. And are there so many things wrong? Can't we just leave laws alone? And isn't there a lot of bogging down of our legislature just to review all these bills?
I was not told that there would be common sense injected into this discussion. However, since you've decided to do that, let me explain to you about the legislative process. You hinted at some of it, which is politicians want a feather in their cap, but also guess who else wants a feather in their cap? Lobbyists or special interests, because they want to get things done, because they think government is in the way or government can enhance their business, whatever the case may be. Some of these are righteous causes, some are not. The legislative process in Nevada is hopelessly broken. It's broken. They have these artificial deadlines, starting with 120 days and they're done. Or you have to get a bill out of House of Origin on date X, and then you've got to get it out of the second house by date Y. And the time for deliberation of important issues, you do need some bills, you probably don't need 1,200, right? It is lost. And so it's compressed. There's no real debate. Most hearings are orchestrated either by the legislators or by the special interests, whether they're unions or business interests. And the outcome is generally foreordained, and it doesn't work. I know a lot of you in this room will not like to hear this. They should not be meeting for 4 months every other year. They should be meeting at least every year to do a budget assessment. I don't care how good you are with your own family's budget, budgeting 2 years in advance for billions of dollars and not taking a time in the second year to say, wait a second, did we screw up? What do we do right? What do we do wrong? What do we need more money for? What do we need less money for? It's insane. It makes no sense. Now, that's only part of it. I mean, as I said before, this club before, I think for many people, most of you probably don't know much about the legislature and don't want to, and the people who are up there. But remember, they are paid essentially $10,000. And as I've said many times, this is for 2 years. As I've said many times, we're going to get a lot of business folks who want to legitimately get back to the community and use their knowledge and go up there. You want retirees who want to bring their life experience there and they can afford to do it. And then you get people who think $10,000 is a good salary. Now, why would they think that? Would they think that there's extra benefits or perks or whatever? And there are too many of them. Now, we've had some fantastic legislators over the years, and there's some great ones up there now. But generally, in life, you get what you pay for. And so you take a system that's broken and not the greatest crop of people in general up there, and yeah, they're gonna do exactly what you said. So I will expect to see your name on a ballot next time, going up there and bringing your common sense to the legislature. You guys will all support it, right?
I was just curious about the movie studio bill. I understand it didn't get addressed. Does that mean basically it's dead? Any chance it happens? Seems like a good idea to me.
It's funny that you mentioned that, and this is a somewhat complicated issue. I don't want to go into all the details. Not exactly just a movie studio issue, but essentially Sony wanted to bring a studio here, and they partnered with a developer down in Southern California, and all they wanted was the state to give them $5 billion over 25 years to do this. So it would be great to have the film industry here. There's even talk of bringing other major studios here, but the bill essentially was written for Sony and written for Las Vegas. The North got all upset, like, we're here too. And a lot of things happened to scuttle that bill. It's funny you asked the question, because right before I came over here, I got a call from somebody in Carson City, said there's a rumor going around that there's going to be a third special session just for the film tax credit bill, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think the governor, who generally supported the concept, I mean, the devil's in the details of all of these things, whether it's the A's deal or something like this, said this is way too complicated, it's gotten way too controversial, we got enough stuff going on, I don't think we're going to do it. So I don't think there's going to be a third special session for it, but this issue is not going away. It's going to come back, and whether they have to do a special session down the road or they can wait until 2025, I don't know. It's another reason, by the way, that every other year sessions doesn't make any sense. If a good opportunity comes up like this, and it's in 6 months, they got to call a special session instead of having a regular session come up. Doesn't make any sense. But it's not going to pass, but it's going to be back. I have no doubt it will be back. Yes, sir.
Seems like Nevada would be in the spotlight in the national election. Including Jackie Rose. Cortez Masto apparently got through. What do you see as the future for Jackie Rose? And who's going to run against him?
In case you didn't hear it, it's Captain Cortez Masto barely won in 2022, and that's very true. She barely won. What are the prospects for Jackie Rosen in 2024, and who's going to run against her? Listen, we're a purple state, and the baseline is going to be that these races are going to be close. The governor's race was very, very close, as was the Senate race last time. The problem the Republicans have is what you just asked: is who's going to run against? Let me tell you what's going on. The National Republican Senatorial Committee knows that Nevada is a right target for flipping a seat. Jackie Rosen, in case you don't know, is a Democrat, and they think that they can beat her. The problem is the one announced candidate for the U.S. Senate is a guy by the name of Jim Marchant. Now, Jim Marchant was a one-term assemblyman who then lost for Congress and ran for Secretary of State last year. He's nuts. He is a conspiracy theorist beyond belief, not just an election denier. This is a guy who said almost every election has been stolen in Nevada since, I think, 2006. He may have said 2008, forgetting maybe that he was elected to the Assembly in 2016. But he said he wasn't sure, even after he won, that maybe the election wasn't stolen away from him. I don't believe this guy's nuts. But in today's Republican Party, it's not a partisan comment, that kind of person can win. And that's what has totally petrified the National Republican Senatorial Committee, because they know that The only way that Jackie Rosen will win easily is if someone like Jim Marchand is the nominee. So they're trying to get somebody to run against Marchand. The person they are focused on is a guy named Sam Brown, who you may remember, he moved here from Texas a few years ago, ran in the primary against Adam Laxalt last cycle, and raised an astonishing amount of money grassroots. He's got a great story. He's a disfigured war veteran, and he's actually a really smart guy, and says a lot of really good things. But he got crushed in that primary, even though he made a splash by how much money he made. So that's who the National Republican Senatorial Committee thinks is the best candidate against Jackie Rosen. You've already had others nose around about the race, including a former ambassador to Iceland, no, not Sig Rogich, a guy you've never heard of, who wants to run. So these people, I don't know, those who've been around for a while, I'm not a native of Baton, but I've lived here for like 2/3 of my life. These people who like move here and think that we're easy marks and they can suddenly pretend to be Nevadans for an election cycle. Yeah, I don't think this happens in any other state. Anyhow, Republicans are in big trouble because even if they get Sam Brown to run, and I like Sam Brown, but he's never won a race in Nevada. And there's no reason to think that he can beat Jim Marchand in a primary. And if Jim Marchand is the Republican nominee after June of 2024, the Republicans will abandon the race. They'll spend all their money in other swing states. Jackie Rosen is a freshman. She's vulnerable. We're a purple state. She can be beaten, but not by Jim Marchand. Dean Heller is happily on his farm riding his tractor.
John, thanks for being here again. We just love having you. Tell us where Paul or Laxalt's going to go.
You mean Adam?
Yeah.
Because I know where Paul Laxalt is. Not to be indelicate. Adam Laxalt is now running something called Never Back Down, which is a PAC that is supporting Ron DeSantis for president. And you may or may not know, but Adam Laxalt and Ron DeSantis are former roommates. They were roommates at naval school. And so they're old friends. And so suddenly Adam Laxalt, who was the biggest supporter for 2 cycles of Donald Trump that you could find, suddenly is a big supporter of Ron DeSantis. So that's his job right now. And who knows? If DeSantis wins, maybe he'll be Attorney General of the United States. It's crazy, I know, but it could happen. It's America. That it?
Okay. Questions? A lot of the things before the legislature this year were tax incentives for businesses to come here. What do you think the effect of that is going to be on the state?
Well, very complicated question to end on. I'm glad you have the second question too. Hope it's easier. Tax incentives, there are many arguments around tax incentives for and against. When this first came up in the state in a big way with Tesla, some of you may remember this almost a decade ago. And we gave a lot of money to Tesla tax incentives. The argument is that they're going to be great for the economy, et cetera, whatever it is. And Brian Sandoval, who made that deal, knowing maybe that it didn't make the best sense starting out economically, a lot of governors are like Sandoval and say, there's no other way to get companies like Tesla to move here unless you get into the tax incentive game, because every other state is playing it. And I don't know if any of you remember, Tesla came within a hair's breadth of going to Arizona instead of Nevada until we sweetened the deal. Once you decide to get into the tax incentive game, then you're playing the game of, okay, how badly you're going to get hosed to get this company. There's also another issue. Some of you in this room may feel this way. There are a lot of local businesses who say, wait a second. Big and small, they get this great deal on taxes and we don't get anything. Why is that good for us? So you hear that too. The film tax credit issue is not going to go through. The A's may go through. But this is the economic development game that Nevada has decided to play. Steve Sisolak was not as big a fan of it. Joe Lombardo seems to be, like Sandoval, a fan of making these deals to try to get big wins for Nevada. And as long as other states are doing it, and you decide you're going to play it, you're going to give away the store sometimes.
I'll hold my second question. People have to get back to their. We really appreciate having you back. It's been a while. I'd like to present you our Soul Power Award, which is a pair of shoes for each child in your name. And also we have a copy of our centennial book that we just published.
Thank you so much. That's great.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
Okay.